Hello and welcome to episode number 2 of the CoinSec podcast. This week we are going to have some nice fun stories about hacking all kinds of different blockchain technologies for you. And we also have a really awesome guest appearance by none other than Chris Gates, aka carnal0wnage. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And so today you have the same host as last time, minus Ralph. So you have myself, Bo Bullock, you have Steve Borosh, and you also have Mike Felch. Ralph couldn't make it this week because he's out in San Francisco, and then I don't know, something happened with the timing or something across time zones.
Probably enjoying the weather over the rest of us.
Right. So as I typically, or as I plan on kind of introducing each show, this show is mainly to kind of provide a security angle on the entire cryptocurrency world and the ecosystems that are involved there, because we hear a lot of different shows and podcasts that are primarily focused on the price and the speculation around the market. So we wanted to, as information security professionals, kind of focus our efforts on cryptocurrency to bring light to some of the vulnerabilities that are involved there. So to start off, let's jump into some of the price valuations for this week, which it's actually been really, really interesting the last couple of days. So today is January 17th of 2018. And if you had asked me about 4 or 5 hours ago, I would have told you that the overall market cap was around $400 billion, which was a huge spike downward in the last couple of days. Little less than a week ago, it's like 800 billion. And then currently it's sitting at 546 billion. We have Bitcoin sitting at 11,407. It dipped to below $10,000 for the first time since November.
Deek.
Yeah, right. So guys, thoughts on price these last couple days?
Wow. I mean, where do we really start? I mean, we had quite the fluctuation in the last couple days and 24 hours, as you would say. And I think everybody's kind of expecting a market correction. Not quite sure how big of a market correction everybody was expecting, but it seems like this one was bigger than expected. So it's been interesting to follow along. And as always, I'm holding on to what I got. And I think right now would be a good time to buy in. I don't think that everything is going to crash and disassemble as naysayers would have, but I think the market is going through a healthy just recorrection, and we'll be back on track here in no time.
Yeah, I saw some interesting charts, people just posting on Twitter and stuff about like the history of where Bitcoin specifically was price-wise in terms of its overall valuation throughout a year for the last 5 years. So it would show, or I guess last 4 years. So about 2014, it was January 5th, 2014 was the low of that year. January 6th of 2015 was the low of that year. Right at the beginning of every year for the last 4 years, in January, the first couple of days, or within the first couple weeks at least, was the low point. It always dropped a bit right around the beginning of the year. I think a lot of people around December, obviously, it's always big around December for some reason. I don't know exactly why. End of year.
Everyone get that end of the year bonus money.
Right, and then I guess they decide to short it in the first month.
Well, it kind of seems like this year was a little bit different. It had a bit of an exception to it with the Christmas season in effect, and the fact that the Bitcoin boom was really going during Christmas time, and all the video cards mysteriously started to dry up around Christmas time. I think a lot of people started getting in the mining frenzy, and we're kind of seeing some effects of that. We're seeing the market boom initially, and then people all of a sudden understand that this isn't just as easy as buy a few video cards and buy a yacht. There's a lot to this as far as the trading intricacies and the mining and everything. And maybe we're just seeing a little bit of that correction of the initial shock to the people who bought into this over the holiday season because of the big boom.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. So, I mean, Ethereum is currently at 1,029. Again, that one dipped. I think it was around 800 earlier today. Ripple saw that drop. I think it was around 80 cents, but it's currently at $1.31. So pretty much all the altcoins. I was watching it last night and watching the percentages, not to USD, but the percentages to Bitcoin drop as well, which is also interesting because a lot of times you'll see the prices associated with USD, which, pretty much none of the other altcoins except for the main ones, Ethereum, Ripple, you can actually buy with USD. Most of the time you have to actually buy it with Bitcoin. So whenever you see the price manipulate or, change in terms of Bitcoin, like percentage wise, it's actually a really good opportunity to jump in and actually make multipliers on Bitcoin. All right.
That's interesting.
Sure, I would certainly agree with that. One thing that you kind of notice is that all the coins have kind of stayed together in the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that instead of having like one segment of the coins drop, all of the coins dropped. So if you look at like stocks, for instance, stocks segments will drop versus cryptocurrency. Kind of has to be the entire market seems to drop together instead of just certain types of coins and stuff like that. So it's a little interesting to kind of compare the two and to see the market fluctuations and maybe what triggers cryptocurrency trades and sell-offs versus what triggers stock and bond and stuff like that trades and sell-offs. So it's a little different vehicle, of course, and I think we're seeing that now with this big dip.
Yeah, that has been interesting to see which ones have been honey badgers the last couple of days as everything's been in the red. A few were definitely holding their own and staying up while the others were tanking.
There's one that tanked more than any, though, and that'd be the BitConnect coin. I don't know if you guys saw the news on that, but so BitConnect decided to shut their doors, and went from about $320 down to $6 in like a day.
Brutal.
Ouch. And that's the gamble, right? And this whole ecosystem is, kind of picking things that bring solutions to the marketplace and at the same time bring value and have some kind of backing. So I think we're going to see this, surge and die thing more and more frequently here in the next year.
I'd agree with that. And I hope that we get to see coins that actually do something rise to the top rather than coins that have like a nice website and a nice fake white paper.
Dogecoin.
Right.
Yeah. And I love the Doge. Can't hate on that, man. It's got the staying power of, I don't know. It's been around a long time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the top 100 do have pretty decent tech, but like you said, I mean, a lot of them are just pretty much vaporware, just hyped up for no real reason. I don't want to call any names, but there's definitely some out there.
Yeah, there's plenty. Sure. And then I spent the weekend reading ICOs, and almost all of them I looked at were junk. Like I was
for sure, yeah.
I was like, this is dumb, but people are throwing money at it.
Well, I think everybody with a new idea can kind of take that new idea and add some kind of cryptocurrency to it, and then maybe pump that up a bit and then kind of leave. So I think we'll see a lot of that. One thing I did want to touch before we moved into weekly coin security news was the Ripple is our last thing over Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple on the valuation discussion. And why Ripple has had such a rise lately. And I mean, why did MoneyGram decide to partner with Ripple over the other currencies, and how has that affected the market?
So I didn't see that. Is that the Novogratz investment, or was that no? He was investing in TechCrunch, correct, with Ripple. So
yeah, I can answer a little. I did see that. I think a week or two ago, the CEO was saying that they had partnered with 3 of the 5 big money movers, and he just wasn't ready to announce it. But they announced MoneyGram this week, which I think had a good boost earlier on the price.
Sure, it was a good boost, and I think that's kind of what skyrocketed it up the cap market. So, I mean, do you think MoneyGram and XRP is a good solution? Will that really bring Ripple to be the next Bitcoin? Is that the kind of thing? Is that we need something like MoneyGram or simple funds transfers are really what's going to back something? Because we know now if you want to transfer $20 of Bitcoin, you have to pay a $17 fee. So is Ripple really the solution there?
I think Ripple looks better to most organizations that are trying to implement some sort of payment solution over blockchain technologies than the others, primarily because it is centralized, meaning that the company Ripple is, they can be held accountable. Like when they're selling or trying to implement XRP into an organization, it's not a completely decentralized network at that point, which definitely would look better to most organizations. I could see that. I think for the broader audience that is actually looking for like the decentralized coin that, it's like the whole Bitcoin dream kind of thing, right? Like not being able to, I don't know, like we all know that it is trackable, but it's still,
sure,
relatively anonymous. And there are other currencies that are even more anonymous, like Monero, Verge, whatever.
Yeah, I think that the two like top drivers for a currency in the future are going to be anonymity and transaction fees. I mean, Ripple costs fractions of a penny compared to, $12 to $30 a fee for transferring some Bitcoin. So I think that and bringing it to ease of use is really going to bring our future segments where we talk about these market cap and stuff is going to change the landscape a little bit. So,
yeah, for sure. The typical argument you always hear is like, if I go to Starbucks and I want to buy a coffee with Bitcoin, that's not going to happen.
Sure.
Today, at least.
Yeah, that boat has failed a long time ago. And I think it really, this year or this last year in 2017 was really phoned home with the fact that Steam dropped Bitcoin as a payment entity.
Funny enough, I could go to Starbucks and mine Monero, though.
We could, and we'll talk about that probably in another episode.
So let's go on to the interview section. Let's talk to Chris about cryptocurrency. So Chris, how did you get your start in cryptocurrency?
So that's a good story. About 4 or 5 years ago, a few friends of I were mining Litecoins. So back in the day, before a lot of these other altcoins had taken off, and hobo nickels were still popular, and all these other things that have died and nobody knows about.
Right.
Was doing that and was like mining Litecoins and turned those into Bitcoins. I stopped doing that because the miner put such a load on my power that it caught the place on fire.
Oh, dude! Wow. Were you using GPU or did you have an ASIC back then?
GPUs, I think I had like 4 290Xs.
Nice.
So not the best thing to mine with today, but they're heavy on the power, and so I guess the people that had built my house kind of handyman did the wiring and ended up catching the outlet on the other side of the wall on fire because they were all daisy chained together. I since once the electrician came in, I had to put in it has its own circuit now. So I used that box for cracking passwords for the day job, and then when it wasn't doing that, it was mining Litecoins, and now it mines Ethereum or whatever is popular.
Awesome.
So that's how I got started. I had a whole bunch of coins stolen from Cryptsy when that guy went MIA with everyone's stuff.
I remember that. Yeah.
Sure. So that was fun. Yeah, and then so now I think I had put it on ignore for quite a while, and then I got caught up in the cryptomania. Now I think with everybody else at like end of November and end of December with Bitcoin heading up past 10,000, and so at that point I bought a bunch of all three at the time, and so I'm doing okay on all those, and then started researching all the different altcoins.
Awesome. So
I can talk a little more. Oh, good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so did you just move your miners to like another outlet in the same building to keep your uptime?
Yeah, we re-ran it. It has its own circuit now, like its own 30 or 40 amp circuit. So
awesome.
No more fires.
Yeah. So like a little bit off topic, but along the same line of thinking about electricity and mining. I actually had somebody contact me recently that it was actually a previous customer of mine that he doesn't work for the same company anymore, but he actually came to me because he heard our first podcast, and he came to me basically saying that they actually detected an ant miner on their network. Based off the host name, like their corporate network, and he was actually able to log into it with root default login, and he was asking me like, what are the implications of that, right? Like besides obviously like mining on corporate network or
using
unauthorized
power
device
from your corporate side, and sure, you're opening up a whole new avenue of attack.
Well, the thing that I pointed out to him is that Antminer specifically has a backdoor built into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways,
nice. I have an amazing conspiracy theory around all that stuff too. If you want to hear it, I don't know if you get into that on this show, but
heck yeah, like about that. We love conspiracy theories.
Okay, I'll bounce all over the place on you.
That's okay.
My conspiracy theory around that is. One, the Claymore miner. If you ever go and look at how much money that person or that group makes, it's astronomical. Like millions a day this person makes on their 1% take of that. So like you can go, it's huge numbers. I don't know if it's one dude or one girl. I mean, he or she is rolling in cash right now. I can tell you that.
That's why you got to recompile your own when you need to.
And so,
so what you're saying is we just need to make a better miner and just put it out there with like 1%.
It did cross my mind to like start to figure out how to code NVIDIA GPU stuff because, man, 1% of the amount of mining that's going on any given day is a large amount. And so I got to thinking, well, who would do that? Who would gain from that? And I was like, well, conspiracy theory. Maybe it's like NSA that's doing that. So one, they get all the money. Two, they now have a backdoor into
the miners.
Probably millions of computers around the world. I mean, these things are sending random data all over the place. You really don't know what's going on the network side. Or I haven't looked too closely, to be honest, of like what actually is going on. You could totally slip a command and control channel into that, and probably nobody would ever know. And there you go. You got a huge botnet around the world.
Yeah, no.
Stratum botnet.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and then at that point, I mean, if they truly wanted to like manipulate, I mean, they could just change the hashing power, like control. If they were mining a certain currency that you could, do the 51% attack or whatever, potentially they have the power at that point.
I mean, plus all these things are high availability, right? Like they're all designed to come right back up if they go down. So
sure.
It seems plausible to me. If I put my tinfoil hat on, anyway.
Yeah, no, I I think that's interesting for sure. You go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just say the other thing that I was working on that was kind of related to getting back into this was I was having all the FOMO about missing all the moves on these altcoins. So I had some extra. Well, I wouldn't say. I don't know if you ever have extra money, but some unexpected bug bounty money came in, and so I decided to, rather than research the like 1,300, 1,400 coins that were out there, that I would just buy. I intended to buy the top 100 altcoins, like $10 worth, because there was another project to buy and hold 100, I think it's called. It's on. It's a really good blog, and they started like pre-December, and so this person's portfolio is smashing it, right? Because they got in before everybody got crypto crazy. But I just said, hey. I got the fear of missing out on all this. Let me just go ahead and buy enough that I get to play. But if it all goes to zero, I'll survive. I'm not betting my farm on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been a pretty fun experiment of signing up for the exchanges and figuring out what these things are and moving money around and thinking about transaction fees and withdrawal fees and all the things that came about of trying to buy all those coins. I ended up buying 85. Mostly due to a lot of the exchanges requiring like a $20 minimum purchase based on the amount of Ethereum or Bitcoin it would cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I underestimated how much I needed, underestimated just the pain in the butt of doing all that manually.
Sure.
In retrospect, I should have made it a programming project. where I just use their
That's what I
API
was
to
gonna ask, is
buy
if
all
you
these
automated
things.
it at all.
I haven't, but if I go and do another round of this, I'm absolutely automating it, because it took me all weekend essentially to just do that, to move the money around, and because
Sure.
Coinbase is slow.
In your opinion, would you say that this is something that the average person should do?
I do not think it's something the average person should do.
Right,
I think
just because of the technical difficulty and prowess needed to actually like operate a wallet, or is it just for the volatility, or what do you think would keep people?
I think if people are going to like buy crypto, they should find a handful of them that they think are legitimate companies and invest in those. Unless you just want to trade, like you have the whole trading versus investing way of looking at things. So trading, you should trade whatever's volatile, and so that's the big three are probably the most volatile for you to trade, depending on if you can meet the margin requirements on these exchanges, which are quite large. So I actually don't do a lot of that just because of not wanting to give someone, $50,000, $100,000 worth of cash. I mean, I don't have it, but some people do. I think people should just use it for a way to invest, like we were talking about Ripple. I like Ripple. I mean, they're not trying to buck the system. They're trying to go with the system. They're offering, it's a real company. They have things that work. They have real clients. I mean, that's what you would look for in a startup that you wanted to invest in, with somebody that had a good product, that had a vision for the future, that had a path to being profitable, which I think they do.
I mean, it's almost like the Warren Buffett method. I mean, you have to take everything that you're doing and like do a complete analysis on it, right? Is it right for my style of investing? Is it right for the market? And just kind of put all that together. And it's not as simple as just, oh, well, I'm going to buy some Bitcoin. There's a lot that goes into it. And like you said, I don't think that the coin market at all is really a trader's market. I think we're in such infancy and such instability that right now is really just a time for investment.
Yeah,
it's in time to buy in and hold and kind of see what shakes out. I mean, I think the active traders today got just destroyed. I think today's shakeup in the market probably just absolutely ruined a lot of people who thought that this was just like your typical market where you could just buy whatever you want and trade and invest and whatnot, but without doing the research. And that's the thing. These coins require the same amount of research as buying any other stock.
Yeah, if not more, because these are, no one gets IPO'd through JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs to bring to market, right? Like they make sure that they're legitimate. These are, some dude can just set one up and run it, and is if they do good on Bitcoin talk, then everyone buys it, right? And there's no implied legitimacy to these. They could be good or bad. You have to actually read and do some analysis.
And the other thing to keep in mind is like the actual technology behind each company really matters. So like for example, you mentioned Ripple. There's a number of other big companies that have specific technologies that are different. They're different blockchains completely. And then you have like things like Tether, which is like the USD equivalent. Sure. Then you have things like lending platforms like BitConnect, which just went down because it was basically like a scam, Ponzi scheme kind of thing. So you really have to be careful and do a lot of research. I remember so I mentioned it on the last podcast, but Ralph and I actually met at it was initially called the Bitcoin Enthusiasts Meetup. It was the very first one back in 2013 here in Tampa. And I just got an alert back in December of another meetup that popped up. And one of the first things that I saw that was part of the meetup was like how to set up your BitConnect group or something to get people lending. Nice. And I'm like, gosh, really? Is that where it's going?
Yeah, it's really interesting problem or interesting space. Same thing around, like I've been spending time, what's the difference between a coin and a token, right? Of how the token is something that rides on another network's infrastructure, right? So you have all these Ethereum-based tokens. You're starting to see Waves-based tokens. It's really interesting stuff. There's so much tech involved and just untapped space of things to look at.
For sure. So you mentioned the project. That's the you're working on, the Great Altcoin Chase.
Yeah, the Great Altcoin Chase. Hopefully clever. I don't know. I was basically I was chasing, and I was trying to make light of this thing may go to zero, and I need to be lighthearted about it. And but I know myself was getting in late. I know plenty of other people that were probably getting in what most people. Well, future will say, did we get in late or right on time or early? But late to the December bum rush of everyone buying crypto. Mm-hmm. And so I was chasing, and I just wanted to kind of say, hey, this allows me to play. This is going to force me to, I have plans to actually investigate every coin that I bought, and then just kind of blog on it. So it gives me an excuse to blog more, and then just to research things, and hopefully good investments will come out of that research.
Nice.
And we could talk. I think we talked about that a little bit over Twitter, but like Quant Stamp would be one that was on the list. I bought that in the small increment, and then as I researched it more and said, oh, this thing is doing security of smart contracts. Hey, I'm going to put a little bit more money on this. One, it's super cheap.
For sure.
Two, this is something that I can see a legitimate need for, because they had the whole
auditing of tokens.
Auditing of contracts. And they had that issue with is it DAO or whatever, where somebody basically just canceled a whole bunch of money or something. I'm not quite sure what happened, but their selling point on their website is like, had they let us audit this, that would not have happened. So I can see, because of what I do for a living for my day job, I can understand a need for that. And so, if that coin or that company can meet that need, I see value there. And so that's worth at least taking an educated guess on, or an educated bet.
For sure. So are you going to plan on basically keeping the coins that you have on the Great Altcoin Chase just locked away, not touching them for a year, and doing like side investment?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to stay. I don't plan on to add to that. I'll have like another wallet or another, or I'll just keep them separately. Like I said, I am adding to some of those positions, but I'm not going to increase that portfolio value. I'll probably mention in the blog if I go buy some more things on my own. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. I was curious if that was like from like a like a scientific kind of experiment sense, like not touching it, or you're gonna.
I mean, I don't plan to trade that or sell it unless there's some remarkable reason to.
Gotcha. Like some coin jumped $2 million real quick.
Yeah, I mean, if I woke up and refreshed the spreadsheet and it says you've got $100,000, I may cash out.
Right.
Go buy Barbados.
Right. Am I going to do that with $10 worth of a coin? Probably not. So
right. Experiment.
I think it's more of a fun. I mean, we can add zeros to things and multipliers and understand, where it would have been if we had bought $100 worth or $1,000 worth of anything. A year or 5 years from now.
What do you see as your end state for the project? Is there a specific date that you want to kind of go and look back on things and see how it went, or is there a specific monetary value you're looking for, or just people's interest? How far do you plan on taking the project?
So the other one is doing 5 years, and so I'll probably mirror that for now. Because everyone's like, oh, if you had bought Bitcoin in 2010, you'd have this many millions of dollars or whatever. And so I guess it honestly being such a small amount of coin, I have no plans to sell it. And just see what happens. I think most of those will go the way of hobo nickels for the most part, and they'll be at zero.
How often are you going to blog about the progress?
I'm going to try to do weekly for a while, but I'm sure I'll find a new shiny sooner than later, and it'll probably be monthly to quarterly once that happens. But I want to learn about all the coins. So I plan to blog about setting up the Ledger wallet, doing staking. So I'm experimenting with staking with some of these coins, and so how do you run, 50 different wallets so you can stake 50 different coins? I don't know how to do that yet. Is that
That is definitely something we want to bring up on this show is wallet security.
Yep.
And best practices for managing wallets. And I don't think there's really any other method or solution out there that I've seen to manage multiple wallets other than some of these cold storage like the Ledger and the Nano or the Trezor. But there's no. I think there should be a central software solution that could accept any wallet and then put it on any hardware device that you see fit. I think that would be a super cool thing for the industry to see, and that would help like new users who are unfamiliar with. We're talking about people that want to come into the cryptocurrency industry, and they don't even know how to open a PowerShell prompt or a command prompt, and how are they going to open their cold storage wallet when they don't have those technical skills? So I think there should be a teaching apparatus to that, and to teach people how to open their wallets, and then some kind of centralized way, a software manager that would manage all those hardware wallets independent on how they communicate with each other. So
yep, that is definitely something we need. Same thing around staking and running these electronic wallets, right? I still don't know how to do it. Like I'm running Colex. I just happened to like buy like $50 worth, and because you could stake it, I wanted to see, okay, how does that work that you hold coin and they just give you more later? But it doesn't scale. So like, I don't know if you need like 50 Docker containers to run one per wallet or what you do. Or some of these, download gigabytes and gigabytes of blockchain data. So it probably gets to be a space and memory and RAM problem pretty quickly as well. Not to mention running shady wallet software
right
on things, right? So
yeah,
one bad actor can now maybe break into all the other wallets, right? And they have to be unlocked to stake a lot of the time. So
what are your thoughts of the idea of like a universal wallet, like something that could hold all the coins?
That would be amazing.
So there is a project out there that I think is trying to do that. It's called Ethos, ETHOS. From what I hear, like they're trying to like almost like do the universal wallet plus exchange, which would be really interesting if they can pull that off in a secure way, and not just throwing it on a web app.
Nice. That would be handy. I mean, we're really far away, I think, from it being user friendly. Like even like MetaMask, and MetaMask is supposed to make doing things on like EtherDelta and some of these other places really easy, but it's actually really confusing to use. And I consider myself a pretty technical guy, and I'm struggling to understand how to securely generate wallets with like my Ether wallet or any of these other things, and then use them with MetaMask and use these on these dApps. Like we're definitely not there yet on the
put it in an S3 bucket, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can.
I mean, it's in the cloud, it's secure, so whatever.
Yeah, just leave it open. It's all good, man. Nobody looks for those.
Which I find interesting that you actually have to like try hard to make your S3 bucket public, and just ruin security for everything. Anyways,
you do now.
I digress.
You do
sure.
now. Amazon will even send you, we're getting probably off topic, but Amazon will send you an email nowadays if you've got an open bucket. So.
Yeah, but when it's intended.
Right. Yeah, I guess you can ignore it. But I think the majority of people don't intend for them to be like publicly listable and everything else.
I kind of bring that up because I saw a tweet today on somebody who found a wallet on an open S3 bucket.
Nice.
A Bitcoin wallet. It was encrypted, but still, putting your stuff on publicly open shares is not the best idea. And I think there's a lot of segments to be had on how to secure your wallets properly with CoinSec Podcast. So, sure.
Absolutely. Same thing for Dropbox or anywhere else where, I mean, to be honest, rogue employee can go take your stuff on a lot of these cloud storage places. Would they do it? I don't know, but it's certainly possible.
Sure. So One of the other questions, actually, it's not really a question. It's kind of a something that we had talked about briefly, like super briefly, over Twitter, was in regards to your altcoin chase site, and doing a similar type of investment, but grabbing like the top 100 high supply coins that have like low market cap. So grabbing like the ones that are like, I think you meant like lower price range coins, right? Like ones that are like, a dime or less.
These are like your penny stocks of coins.
Right. Yeah, I guess the idea, and it's not super fleshed out, was around like picking a market cap that shows there's some users. So like, I don't know, $1 million, $10 million market cap, but also like X amount of volume too. So basically something that's not in the top 100 that everybody knows about. So you're probably looking in the like 300, 400 range of coins, and doing that. Don't particularly. You guys should do that so I can follow along. I don't know if I have another $1,500 just to throw out for fun, but I think if any of them have a potential to be like 10 baggers or whatever, it's coins like that where they're super cheap now. They're getting the Momo going, especially if they've survived this, the Cryptopola, whatever we're having today.
Right?
Yeah.
Like look at Tron. Tron's one of those like super high supply coins that we actually talked about a little bit last week. But that one, went to 20 cents super fast. So if you invested at 4 cents, then you would have had easily a lot of multipliers there. And who knows where that's going to go over the next couple of years, right?
It's back down to a nickel today, though, right? So
exactly. It's one of those things, I guess, like you said, you got to keep an eye on it for sure. Because if you do see something kind of spike, you might want to hop out or stay in.
That's one thing I don't see in trading platforms like I do. I trade in IRAs and stock platforms and stuff too. And we have a thing called, basically a stop loss. Like if you're if you put in a trade and it drops 10% or X amount of points, then it automatically sells. Well, I don't see that on a lot of these trading websites today. You put in a trade and that's that. You don't have a lot of options to really manipulate your trade compared to true stock trades and options trades like there are today. You don't have the same options. So people come into it and they think they can do it the same. It's just not the case. You have to come into it with a little bit of a different mindset. You have to really pay attention and you have to be on top of it because you don't have the automated trading platforms like you do with general currencies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having a trailing stop would be super handy for a lot of these exchanges.
Yeah. I mean, that probably would have
got hit this week
today for a lot of people. But I'm sure they're finding out now that that's not the case. That something like that isn't available. And I think we're going to see a bit of a correction, not only in price and stuff like that, but I think we're going to see a lot of people drop out of the game from this huge correction in such a short amount of time. So we'll see a lot of those video cards come back out onto the market. We'll see a lot of people dropping out of the exchanges and selling off just to sell their stuff because they didn't think it was going to be such a challenge to work in the cryptocurrency market, and it is. I mean, you have to really know what you're doing.
For sure. So, guys, let's move on to the weekly cryptocurrency security news. We've got a few pretty interesting stories for this week. So the first one that we have up is the hacked PeopleSoft and WebLogic servers that were used to mine $226,000 worth of Monero. This one was definitely an interesting one. Basically, I mean, imagine like your typical bot, right? That's just scanning the internet. I would assume for a specific vulnerability, drops their malware. And I think in this case, one of the interesting things was that the script was actually killing other active processes and other coin miners on the system specifically, right? So it was taking over systems that already had miners running, and then of course running its own. One of the things I thought was kind of interesting about it too is like it did kill like Java, which actually killed WebLogic itself on the server.
Right. Well, I mean, that's important. And you have to think about that from an attacker's perspective. If you're coming in and you're taking over a system, you don't want other people coming in and kicking you off or taking over the system with you. So, killing Java, I guess, and killing it was an Oracle WebLogic bug, I think, that was first attacked with this thing, a Java deserialization attack. So basically what they were doing was killing Java so that nobody else could exploit the system and take over their miner.
See,
I mean, that's
brilliant.
If
they thought smarter about it, what they would have done is just patched WebLogic after they got the miner running on it.
Right, yeah, sure, but how are you going to patch a Java deserialization vuln? It's not as easy as applying a patch. So I think they went the step that they could take it and just basically shut it off behind them. They could have I think they could have probably a little more easily set up like a firewall rule or something. But I think the whole point is they wanted to take over the system and mine cryptocurrencies. And that's the thing that we're seeing these days and we talked about it last week, is that instead of taking over a system and demanding ransom, when all they have to do is, do a backup, mine cryptocurrency for as long as you can without them noticing.
For sure. Hopefully they didn't need WebLogic for anything important.
Yeah, sure, right.
You'd think that'd be a pretty heavy indicator that something's wrong with that server.
Well, I think I think this was kind of like a chase. Like this vuln came out and it was, hey, let's make as much money as fast as we can. So I don't think the proprietor of this malware or of this scripts, it was just a bunch of scripts that just ran around and installed more scripts. There were PowerShell scripts. There's a good blog from where was that from? From Iceberg, ICEBRG.
Those are Justin Warner's, right?
Yeah, Justin Warner. He wrote this one, and the cool thing about Iceberg is they have a lot of customers, and they get to see like these events happen over a large scale of domains. So they were able to see this happen in real time and then get all of the hashes. So if you go to iceberg.io, and I think we'll put this link up later, but there's a coin mining blog post, and it has all the hashes, all the indicators of compromise and everything. And it's just really cool how this thing spread. And you think about this, you could turn this into a worm, and that just hops from system to system and downloads XMRig and runs XMRig until the guy is, richer than beyond belief. And we talked last week about why they're choosing Monero over Bitcoin, and we see this again in this week. So Monero seems to be the hot commodity coin for malware authors, and it's just more prevalent today than it was yesterday. And I think this is a trend we're going to see explode quite a bit this year.
I got a couple things to add to that. About a year ago, we did some Redis research and found a whole bunch of popped Redis servers that were mining Monero. So doing the same thing just with open Redis boxes. So I actually did a blog post. I was just looking it up while you guys were talking about it. At the time, this person had like 1,100 Monero from mining Redis. And that ends up being 31 Bitcoins today. So
sure.
That's a hefty amount of cash you got from just breaking into boxes. And they were doing the same thing like you guys were talking about. It would look for any other miners running and cut and turn them off, and had a job. So like it would come back at reboot. And some of these servers were just unresponsive because they were just mining Monero so hard that they were just unusable.
Right.
But it's going around. Plus Monero's privacy. You can't track where it goes. So I guess once you have the coins, you become invisible, which would make it appealing to people, and also you can mine it with a CPU. So lots of good reasons to use it.
Yeah, and that just brings out. The whole point of this podcast is looking at cryptocurrencies and security as a whole, and the fact that these campaigns are all leveraged based on some kind of decentralized cryptocurrency that they can get away with. So we have to start thinking about ways as defenders that we can keep attackers from doing this kind of stuff on our networks. So I think those are some things we should talk about in the future, is how to, block stratum connections in the network, and how to keep hosts from mining cryptocurrencies in the browser when you can, and things like that. So this attack,
we're actively sinkholing a lot of those domains.
Sure. Yeah,
so
and
that at least they can't do it from work.
Yep. Yeah, that's one way. And the thing is, a lot of these people, they deploy this stuff, and they'll deploy their own pool too.
Nice.
So those pre-built IPs and stuff that you have, if you get 100,000 hosts all mining to your own, anonymous pool that you bought with Monero in the first place, it's just something else to look out for. So I think detection of these types of attacks is something that really needs to step up in 2018.
For sure. And another news story from this week was that Checkpoint actually labeled CoinHive as the most prevalent malware of December 2017.
Nice.
Yeah. So apparently, actually, it was number 1, and then number 3 was also a crypto coin miner. So Crypto Loot was number 3. It says researchers found that crypto miners managed to impact 55% of organizations globally, with 2 variants in the top 3 lists of malware and 10 different variants in the expanded top 100. So it's definitely becoming more and more prevalent, obviously.
Yeah, that CoinHive stuff is really interesting, where you can just put some JavaScript in someone's page and get paid later.
Yeah, speaking of CoinHive, we have
really
it in
fun.
We actually set up on our blog for the coinsecpodcast.com a donate link at the bottom now that actually, if you want to help support the show, all you have to do is click the approve button, and your browser will start mining away for us. Which would be awesome. We would greatly appreciate that. Certainly. Help pay for some of the hosting bills. All right, so one of the other stories that I saw this week that I thought was pretty interesting was the site blackwallet.co, which was a web wallet, was actually hacked with a DNS hijacking attack. And what they ended up doing was basically automatically sending customers balances over 20 stellar lumens. So if you had over 20 XLM in your account, automatically, the second you logged into Blackwallet, to another address under the hacker's control. So this is definitely something relatable to our industry. I mean, we see DNS hijacking from here occasionally. So thought it was an interesting thing to bring up.
Yeah, I missed that. That's super hilarious.
So it ended up being like $400,000 though of stellar lumens, which I guess today's price is probably like 300.
Got enough to hit McDonald's?
Yeah, right. Yeah, if only McDonald's would accept XLM.
What do you trust with your money, though, right? I mean, all these online wallets, mobile wallets. Electronium has a mobile wallet now, but to keep your own cold storage wallet requires, some technical know-how and how to actually operate, command lines and stuff like that. So. Well, some of them are GUI, but at the same point, if you're just opening a GUI wallet, are you securing it properly? And especially with, I think there was a recent Electrum vulnerability, the same thing. People with cold storage Electrum wallets were opening their Electrum wallets and getting their stuff stolen. So
that's what's interesting is you think buying a hardware wallet like Ledger or Trezor is the best way to go. But then there are a number of web apps that actually a lot of people use to hook into them. So for example, My Ether Wallet is one that you can view your coin balances in a hardware wallet. And a lot of people use those because some of the default apps for things like the Ledger don't actually show you the token balances. So if you participated in an ICO or you're getting any of the number of tokens that are out there, you don't actually see the balances and your default Ledger apps. So a lot of people are using things like My Ether Wallet to view that stuff, and something like that is a web app. And if their site was DNS hijacked, same thing could have happened to a hardware wallet. The second you plug your Ledger Nano in, unlock it, connect to My Ether Wallet, and let's say you're at the wrong IP, you're having a bad day.
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I think we haven't even scratched the surface of all the AppSec problems with all of this stuff. No one's looking at it. There's tons of space, so
For sure, and
maybe they'll do some bug bounties, and all the HackerOne and Bugcrowd people should be hitting these guys up.
That is the one thing that I liked about the Electroneum coin, was that the fact that they thought that they had some issues with their coin and their wallet and stuff, so they hired on HackerOne, and they did a private bug bounty for about 2 months before they actually re-released the coin. So I think some of them are actually seeing the value in doing bug bounties and stuff like that, but I think we still have a long ways to go.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it will help. The market seems to be so fickle around these different coins that any edge they can get to show they care will probably go pretty far.
Definitely.
Sure. I almost think it's more of how much newsworthiness can you get is how far you'll go with the coin, but that's all FUD, so we'll leave that for here nor there.
Okay, cool. So one of the other stories that I saw come up was this is actually like, it's such an easy fix, but it's one of those things. It's just like another cryptocurrency in the news kind of thing, especially in like the security news. So I saw like where basically what they were doing was sending ISO files attached to emails that were basically saying like, hey, there's a problem with your blockchain account. Please open the attached ISO. And with Windows 10, it will still open up ISOs simply by double-clicking them, which actually allocates them to a regular drivelet around the system. And then inside the ISO was like a malicious exe or something. I just thought it was kind of interesting, like to see, it's actually using cryptocurrency as the initial malware factor for like getting onto a system, as opposed to like the reverse where you're trying to phish somebody and then install a miner.
Sure. So you think about this, if you throw this at a broad spectrum, it's probably not likely to get a whole lot of clicks, I would think. But let's say you go to a cryptocurrency conference, right? And you man in the middle of the wireless there, and you grab a bunch of usernames and whatnot, and then you have some targeted people to go after that are in the cryptocurrency. I think this would be a lot more targeted and interesting. I don't know if this would be good for like a overall general phishing campaign, but it's interesting to see that people are moving into this aspect as more people are taking interest to the cryptocurrency, the field.
Yeah, it seems like phishing would be really easy. I mean, throw a DDE, download, execute Cradle, download your payload, and then run some PowerShell miner.
Sure. I mean, think about in the past, I've done a lot in a way like free iPads or free iPhones, and you time your phishing around the latest hoopla of phone release or whatever. You could do the same thing with cryptocurrency, right? We have a giveaway of X amount of cryptocurrency for this new ICO, and people will buy into it.
Would definitely make databases of hacked exchanges valuable, or any web apps where you could user enumerate too, right? So then you could build a nice list of people that would have a pretty high likelihood of having that coin or that token wallet there.
Right. Exactly.
It'd be interesting to see if how simple to get like an Android miner, something that could run within like an Android app. Because I think that'd be really interesting.
Well, it's funny to bring that up. Electroneum, I harp on it a lot, but it's one of the coins that I actually kind of believe in because of that factor is that they're coming out with a mobile miner that's an actual app on your phone that you let run, and while you have it plugged in or whatever, and it mines your mobile wallet. So I think that's one of the new up and coming technologies that we'll see more and more of.
I'm not familiar with that one. Is that its own coin or own network? Is there enough?
Electroneum.
Sweet. I mean, can you actually mine enough on your phone to make any money?
I believe so. I run
cool.
Deadpool.io, which is an Electroneum is one of the coins we mine there. And it's definitely a lot easier. It's based on the kryptonite, same thing as XMR. It's easy for any mobile CPU or anything like that to mine. So
nice. I mean, a lot of these phones do have really nice chips in them, right? So it's foreseeable that like with the new iPhone is probably better than like an Intel NUC or something. So
yeah, I'm interested to see how some of these coins pick up the mobile mining thing, and if they bring any incentive to, how do you know mobile mining is actually going to be profitable? It's hard to see that it's going to be profitable, but I think that they're going to just sell it to the general public as, hey, little bits of cents into your account is better than nothing.
Have you seen some of the Chinese farms of just cell phones?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, you can even do farms of Arduinos or Raspberry Pis and do the same thing. Just
so are we gonna see like a shortage of cell phones here soon because people are gonna be mining on their phones?
I got a whole box full of old forensic phones that are just sitting under here right now. You know, it would be cool though if you get like an Android library, build like an SDK, and allow people to embed it in their applications instead of having like a in-app purchases, just to have it mine when they're not using their phone, like at night.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
I'd probably do that. People do that in a heartbeat, I'm sure.
Cool. So the last story I have is one I just saw today that I actually thought was really, really interesting. Basically, it's a story detailing about a couple vulnerabilities in Lisk, the Lisk coin, and how to actually go about stealing coins from a wallet in Lisk, from an address specifically, not from like a software wallet, like from like straight up steal them from an address. And so there's a couple things. The short version is basically that it says you can hijack certain Lisk accounts and steal all of their balance after only 2 to the 64th evaluations of the address generation function, a combination of SHA-256, SHA-512, and a scalar multiplication over ED25519's curve. So, like previously, like all the things we've been talking about, I think, have been specific to like our industry, meaning like, like CSRF stuff, local RPC servers. This one actually is specific to a problem within a blockchain. So this was kind of neat to see something like this kind of pop up.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's more on the math side, but when you look at the old parity bug, that I've been kind of focusing on dApps and looking at some of the problems that they pose, is kind of reminding me of that, right? Once you have some sort of fundamental bug in the blockchain itself, how that implementation is actually going to become much more pervasive, especially as people are taking these dApps and kind of spinning their own contracts and throwing them on. Just really, really interesting.
Yeah, one of the things that is said about this particular vulnerability is that an address, so like a wallet address, isn't actually bound to a key pair until it's sent the money to another address. So basically what that means is like you don't actually own the address until you've sent something from that address prior. So if all you've done is received coins in that wallet.
Sure, so you got a vulnerable wallet then.
Exactly. So now, like, you think about like what you're doing, Chris, and investing in like 85 coins, like, now do you have to actually worry about each one having something like that, right? Where you didn't send something from each wallet. Maybe there's something like that.
Sure. And then as an industry, how do we look at this vulnerability with this one specific coin and then decide whether that is prevalent across other coins? Is there any easy way to do that, or do we have to analyze every single one specifically? I think it's more the latter. I mean, I don't think that there's any way to and maybe that's something we have to go down the line is coming up with some kind of security industry or like related to cryptocurrency, like a framework. Yeah, sure. And how do we test and verify and that these things are secure enough for us to use?
Definitely see that need. Right now, we're just YOLO in it.
Right.
Awesome. Well, so we're at about an hour. Steve, did you want to try to do the mining section tonight, or would you like to maybe put that off to next week?
Yeah, I think we'll push that to another week, and maybe try to come up with something a little more comprehensive. It's pretty simple as it is right now, and I think we've covered a lot about with Chris on the show today, and had a lot of good insight from him. So I think we're good.
Absolutely. Yeah, Chris, thank you so much again for coming on the show, dude.
Yeah, no, I had a blast. Thanks for thinking of me and asking me to do it. I had a really good time.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this episode. You can find us on Twitter. We're at CoinSec Podcast on Twitter. Keep an eye out on coinsecpodcast.com for future episodes. So we're going to have, we have the website up, I believe, currently in a form. Steve's doing a good job kind of throwing that together. And then, you can subscribe to us on like iTunes and stuff now. And we're on, what is that audio site? SoundCloud, sorry. SoundCloud as well. If you don't feel like downloading each episode onto your local podcast app, we're on SoundCloud. So thanks again. We will see you next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody.